Just after the New Year's bell rang, my boyfriend suddenly sent me a message, "Happy birthday." I paused for a moment and handed my phone to the person sitting beside me. "You're having an affair, aren't you?" He was busy sending messages. Glanced at it impatiently. And frowned. "What a butt-skill. Can't you even tell it's a joke? Is it worth making a big deal out of it with such a gloomy face? Look at you. You can't even catch a joke. No wonder my friends say you're boring and annoying. I really don't know about all these new or old jokes. But I know that today is the birthday of the beauty of their department, Sunny. I also know that he has long forgotten that today is my birthday too. The latest post in my WeChat moments is from Sunny. It's a screenshot of a transfer of 666.66 yuan. With the caption, "Thank you, my dear son, for the birthday surprise you sent at the exact moment. The transfer is Blake. That avatar of his, a cartoon puppy, was even drawn by me. 16,000 yuan. He really is generous when he spends money. So the 5,000 yuan he urgently borrowed from me yesterday was for such an urgent matter." The mantis shrimp in my mouth suddenly lost its flavor. It was dry and tough. And no matter how much I chewed, I couldn't swallow it. Blake acted as if nothing had happened. He was eating the crab meat I peeled for him and, with a smile on his face, was holding his phone to comment on her post. "Don't be polite to your dad. Eat more during the New Year's Eve dinner. If you lose weight, your dad will feel distressed." Sunny replied, "My dear son is so filial." I watched their interaction blankly and clicked into Sunny's moments. The beauty of the department has an icy beauty's face. But in moments, she's as active as a chatterbox. She complained in her WeChat moments that the prices of the stalls outside the school have gone up. Mocks the counselor for being biased. And there's also a long string of praises she gives herself. And my boyfriend, who often doesn't reply to my messages for a whole day, is actually a long-term resident in her moments. He checks in on time and is very active. Sunny said, "This new milk tea tastes so bad that I want to throw my mouth away." Blake popped up, "You wait. Dad will buy you a cup. I guarantee that you'll take a sip and reminisce about it all day long." Sunny said, "Today's food is too spicy. I feel like I just swallowed the Taishan Ji Lao Zhen's alchemy furnace." Blake tried to please her. "It's time for a cup of my privately brewed, ice cold, frozen pear soda. This might be what they call everything has an answer, and every matter has a response. Anyway, he's completely different from the taciturn, steady, and serious Blake I know. Come to think of it, this kind of sweet partiality towards only one person is really touching. If this lapdog were not still my boyfriend, I would even want to ship them." I picked up my phone and directly replied to Blake under that moment's post. "Oh. How come I didn't know our child was already this grown up?" Sunny replied to my message in an instant. "You too? What's going on?" I glanced at Blake's pale face and, with a smile, typed a line, "As of now, I'm your dear son's girlfriend." Just as I pressed send, Blake suddenly jumped up from his chair, pointed at my nose, and shouted loudly, "Ava, are you fucking crazy?" I said, "Why have you been so quiet recently? Are you fucking spying on me? Do you think everyone is as thick-skinned as you? Who the hell do you think you are? Why are you being sarcastic to Sunny?" Spit flew out of his mouth. The more he spoke, the more excited he became. And he raised his hand to push me. I'm strong-built. I just instinctively blocked him. And accidentally, I directly knocked him off balance. What a weakling. Blake met my mocking expression. Was so angry that he trembled, bit his lip, and his eyes turned red. He snatched my phone and threw it on the table. The phone, had in fulfilled with the force of being thrown, sent the mantis shrimp flying. Then, had in a fulfilled session, carried by inertia, it hit the plate of groupers in front and kept bouncing forward in a tumble. The harmonious and happy New Year's Eve dinner table was now in complete chaos. The soup splashed, and the cups and plates splattered, just as Blake's dad stretched out his hand. The wine dispenser he was trying to save was hit by a plate with a snap, and shattered on the spot. That was a valuable 30-year-old MOTI. Now, it all spilled onto my dad's pants. Blake's dad has poor cerebus varatzer in health, and is only allowed to drink once a year. He had been eagerly looking forward to the new year and happily took out his treasured wine that he had been keeping for a long time. Now, seeing it gone, he was very aggrieved. He sat in his chair, holding a small wine cup, and his eyes turned red. Blake's mom came back to her senses from the red envelope grabbing competition. Seeing the mess on the table, she slapped the table. Blake, am I being too lenient with you? It's the new year. What are you throwing a tantrum for? Hurry up and apologize to Ava. Blake stuck out his neck and didn't say a word, making his mom so angry that she jumped up and started looking around for a feather duster. The situation was really awkward. Normally, heading till Sildley and Sashern, when Blake was about to get beaten, my dad and I would stop it. But this time, I thought he deserved it and didn't want to interfere. Blake could only cast a pleading look at my dad. My dad can't hold his liquor well. After drinking 2 small cups of white wine, his cheeks turned red. He tried to open his hazy, drunken eyes, looked at the phone that had bounced all the way in front of him, and then grinned at me blankly. Oh, my dear daughter. What's this new hint? Do you have no money left? Didn't I just transfer 5,000 yuan to you yesterday? Did Blake borrow it again? You wait. Dad will transfer money to you right away. Blake's mom stopped rummaging for the feather duster, turned around suddenly, and widened her eyes. Wait a minute. What's going on? Blake, did I don't say. What have you been doing at school? 6,000 yuan a month isn't enough for you? I said you've been dressing so flamboyantly recently. Like a peacock spreading its feathers. I thought something was off. So, the 10,000 yuan you said you wanted to use to buy a gift for Ava. Did you use it for something bad? 10,000? Buy a gift for me? I glanced at Blake, whose face was pale. This blame is really too heavy for me to bear. Blake grabbed my wrist, lowered his head, and pleaded with me in a low voice. Please. Don't say anything. I'm begging you. Help me this one time. Just this once. I met his pleading eyes and shook my head. I pulled my wrist out of his hand, which was trembling with nervousness, took out the keys from my bag, and waved the kung fu and a kaiken on it at Blake's mom. Godmother. This is the gift Blake gave me. The official website price is 368 yuan. As for where the remaining 632 yuan went, you'd better ask him yourself. After saying that, I took the kaiken off the keyring and placed it on the table. It's ridiculous that a few days ago, when I received this thing, I happily admired it all night long. I thought this was the birthday gift he gave me. This was the first time in my life that I wanted to celebrate my birthday. I even blushed and fantasized about what Blake would say to me on my birthday. Now it seems that Blake has long forgotten that my birthday is also on the first day of the Lunar New Year. This gift is probably just the scraps of Blake's conscience. He really knows how to calculate. And I'm really easy to deceive. Blake's mom pulled out a feather duster from the corner of the sofa and weighed it in her hand. Ava. Don't stop me. Let him explain himself. I nodded obediently and took a step to the side. I gave Blake's mom enough for him to play. Blake glared at me and gritted his teeth as he whispered in my ear, Ava. You're so hypocritical. I just borrowed money from you a few times. You're already such an adult. And you still go home to tattle? I really must have been blind to have taken pity on you. Now that I think about it, there's some truth to what others say about you. You're just an annoying. He paused for a moment, clenched his teeth, and as if making a decision, he spat out 3 words. Fat pig. Fat pig. Fat pig. These 3 words instantly pulled me back to the period when I was mocked and despised wherever I went. They didn't openly curse me. And they couldn't beat me either. They just, when I walked past, as if they smelled something, deliberately covered their noses with their hands and fanned a book in front of their faces. Or during physical education class, they would smile and gesture in front of their chests with their hands, exchanging a meaningful look with each other. When I ran, they would say, the fat pig is charging. Run. There's an earthquake. When I was so angry that I cried, they would say, the fat woman is crying. This is a thriller. When I grabbed the person who was mocking me and gave him a few punches, they would say, see, the dead fat pig is losing her temper. Even if I won the fight, There were even more people cursing me. In the end, I could only pretend to be deaf and ignore the malice hidden in their jokes. It wasn't until I went to university and completely left that environment that I finally felt relieved. But I never expected that these 3 words would be casually spat out by Blake and thrown at me. I instinctively raised my hand, wanting to slap him. But I hesitated for a moment when I met his bloodshot eyes. This is Blake. He's the Blake who was so excited that he lost his voice shouting when he saw me set a new record in the competition. He's the Blake who, after I fainted due to low blood sugar, carried my 173-pound body on his little frame of over 120 pounds. Even though he was so exhausted that he almost collapsed, he still gently put me down first before falling to the ground with a thud. He once, when others were mocking my figure and making fun of my appearance, stood by my side and said to those people, "You guys don't know shit." Emma has even won awards in national-level competitions. Using appearance and figure to belittle her just makes you look ignorant and narrow-minded. It was also on that day that Blake took my hand in front of those people who were jeering and told everyone, "You guys don't know how to appreciate." I do. I just like Ava. No matter what she looks like. I like her that way. Then, let out a low sigh. I don't know where he got a piece of paper, folded it into a rose, and stuffed it into my hand. "Ava, I like you." The sunlight that evening was exceptionally kind. It cast a halo over Blake, leaving an impression on my heart. And now, just like those people, he attacked my figure, trying to sting me with the words "fat pig." I suddenly realized that time might have long since taken away the Blake I once knew. The person standing in front of me dislikes me, but doesn't have the courage to admit it. He doesn't dare to break up with me and even uses my name to deceive money from his family. All that glitters is not gold. I feel so bored. It's unnecessary to say even a single word more to him, so I let my hands hang down and closed my eyes tightly. "Blake, we're breaking up." When I pulled my dad out of the Blake family, Blake was still arguing with his mother. His neck stretched out. The door slammed shut. The dull sound of the feather duster hitting the flesh was also left inside that door. Nothing went smoothly today. Even the elevator was against me. It got stuck on the 16th floor. And there was no response for a long time after I pressed the button. Blake's angry work clearly reached the corridor. "Did you give birth to me just to make me serve her like a slave? If it wasn't for you forcing me to protect her back then, how could I have ended up with this unlucky fat pig by some twist of fate?" Bang. I numbly picked up the bag that had fallen to the ground and looked at the number on the elevator. It was still 16. What's wrong with me calling her a fat pig? Don't you know in your heart if she's fat or not? Your son is 1.86 meters tall and weighs less than 120 pounds. While she must weigh 180 pounds. She could knock me down with just one punch. I patted the dust off the bag and shook my head with a bitter smile. He was wrong. It wasn't just knocking him down. With his skinny build, I could break his ribs with one punch. I've never felt that waiting for the elevator was so long. The number on the panel went from 16 to 1, and then slowly climbed up to 19. I counted floor by floor, listening to Blake's distorted roars, which pounded on my heart one by one. "If you can't argue with me, you hit me. You always hit me because of her. I also want to be with a normal girl." Is that too much to ask? I don't want to be with a strong woman who throws the shot put. Is that against the law? Yes, cutting for so Ryan session. Yes. Yes. She's won awards. She's an excellent athlete. She's so precious. Her own mother risked her life to give birth to her. And my mother treats her like a treasure even though she doesn't care about her own son. My dad was originally leaning against the elevator entrance in a daze, smiling and burying his head in his phone to send me red envelopes. Suddenly, he realized that Blake inside the door was talking about me. And his face turned pale with anger. What kind of nonsense is this kid talking? Is this how he treats you usually? I have to talk to him. Where does he get the nerve? Who asked him to be in a relationship? Didn't he confess to you himself? How dare he talk about my daughter like this? The elevator door finally opened. I grabbed my dad's collar and pulled him into the elevator. I could finally escape this embarrassing situation. Now, I don't want to hear Blake's voice at all. I just want to leave this place as quickly as possible. My dad was drunk, but he still had a lot of strength. It took me a lot of effort to drag the old man into the passenger seat all the way. Forget it. If it were before, if I heard someone say such things, I might have had a fight with him and punched him a few times. Now, I just think it's unnecessary. Why humiliate myself? If I hit him or scold him, will he really know that he's wrong? No, he won't. He'll just say that I'm simple-minded and only good at using violence, with nothing else to offer. I've tried many times before. From primary school to high school. I've quarreled, cursed, and fought with others. The result is always the same. Even if I win the argument, those who dislike me will still continue to dislike me. Even if I win the fight, those who want to scold me will still scold me. I'm already used to it. On the way home, my dad mumbled and cursed Blake's entire family tree. While cursing, the usually hot-tempered old man suddenly wiped away a tear. Daughter, if you really like that kid, should dad think of a way for you? If you're not willing to let it go, you can cry or curse, but don't hold it in your heart. Holding in the grievances can easily make you sick. I don't have any other hopes in this life. I just want you to live a smooth and happy life. Otherwise, I won't be able to explain to your mother when I'm gone. Am I not willing to let it go? I've known Blake for 15 years. We were friends for more than a decade and were in a relationship for 1 year, 8 months, and 3 days. Now, I suddenly find out that this person has always disliked me just like others. All the goodness that I cherished was forced out by his mother with a feather duster. How could I not care at all? My heart feels as if it's being squeezed tightly now, and every breath is painful. But despite the pain, I accept this result. Maybe it's because we started our relationship too hastily and it ended so embarrassingly. Before we got together, we were clearly the best of friends. We ate together and had tutoring together. He would buy me ginger tea and sanitary pads during my period. And I would stand up for him when he was maliciously injured while playing basketball. At that time, Blake's eyes were bright, and his eyebrows and eyes would dance when he talked. He was a very sunny young man who stood out in the crowd. He often put his arm around my shoulder and said to me, "Don't worry, Ava. I'll be your strongest support for the rest of my life." Maybe Blake didn't expect that he would one day speak ill of me. In fact, our relationship was rather like a farce. Throwing the shot put and studying took up most of my time. And Blake was also busy with the student union and part-time jobs. At first, we agreed to go out for a nice meal every week. It went from a special restaurant to the school cafeteria. And later we just met occasionally and said a few words. If I hadn't held his hand when he confessed to me, maybe we would still be the same as before. Now that I think about it, at that time, he might have just simply wanted to stand up for me and save face for me in front of others. But I was just bewitched by the sunlight that day. I forgot that he was good-looking while I was chubby and clumsy. I actually believed the saying that beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Ava, who chased after Blake, was like Dawn's high imitating Exishi's frown. A stupid joke. In his eyes, I was dull, clumsy, unromantic, and shameless. I clearly didn't deserve him. Yet I still clung to a joke. So, probably because of these reasons, Blake gradually changed. He replied to messages more and more slowly. We met less and less. And his temper got worse and worse. He gradually changed from being sunny and cheerful to being silent and gloomy. It wasn't until he met Sunny and became a satellite revolving around her that he gradually returned to his former self. Looking at it this way, his dislike for me was just him taking off his disguise and speaking his true feelings. What's wrong with a person speaking their true feelings? We were never meant to be on the same path. We were just barely brought together on the same path for a few steps. And we would eventually go our separate ways. Thinking of this, I rubbed my dry eyes and stuffed my sobbing dad back into his room. Don't worry. This is just a small thing. It will be over after a good sleep. Your daughter isn't someone who can be defeated by such a thing. I was too hasty. That night, I was knocked down by the A1N1 flu. It turns out that feeling pain with every breath isn't necessarily caused by a broken heart from a breakup. A more scientific explanation is that it's a precursor to a fever. On the 3rd day of the Lunar New Year, I was lying on the bed wrapped in a quilt, with a high fever of over 39 degrees Celsius. Inhaling felt like a blade cutting my throat, and I kept coughing when exhaling. I felt like a fattied fish dried up by the water's edge. At this moment, Blake, who walked into my room with a stern face, was especially annoying. He stuffed a plate of washed strawberries into my arms, then lay down on the small rocking chair by my window as if he was familiar with the place. While playing with his phone, he casually said to me, "Is Dad in a bad mood today? Why does he look so fierce when he looks at people?" "Forget it. I'll go and cheer him up later. Hurry up and eat the strawberries." I washed them myself. And I washed them really clean. I stopped the hand that was holding the strawberries, turned my head, and put the whole plate of strawberries back on the bedside table. "It's so unlucky. I don't want to eat them anymore." Blake frowned, sat up straight, and his face was full of impatience. "Come on. There should be a limit to your temper tantrum. With your physique, you suddenly got sick just to give me a chance to make up with you, right? I've already come here to apologize to you. I was just carried away that day and spoke a bit out of line." I opened my mouth to refute him. He wasn't just carried away. At that moment when he paused, he clearly wanted to choose the most effective word to hurt me from a lot of insulting words. But my throat really wasn't up to it. As soon as I opened my mouth, I started coughing. I just wanted to drink some water to moisten my throat and then continue. But Blake picked up the water cup on the bedside table and drank it all up. I was already feeling very uncomfortable with the high fever. Every inhalation was like a small knife cutting my throat, and my arms and legs were so weak that I couldn't exert any strength. If my gaze could hurt people, I would want to poke 100 big holes in him. Blake didn't notice at all. He put down the water cup, lifted his eyelids, and sneered at me, who was so angry that my face was red. "It's just using your cup. Where did your mind go? Look at how red your face is. Okay. Let's forget about this. I won't hold it against you for complaining either. After all, you're like my ancestor. Don't think of people too negatively. Sunny is a very nice person. Usually, the gifts others give her are incredibly expensive. I asked my family for some money because I was afraid that the gift I gave her for her birthday would be too shabby. Don't mention breaking up at every turn in the future. You're not a delicate little girl. Throwing a tantrum isn't suitable for you. Maybe the filter has broken. And my view has also changed." Blake's expression now seems extremely greasy and disgusting to me. I just wanted to throw off the quilt, get up, drink a glass of water, and then scold him. I watched as he stared at his phone with wide eyes, excitedly jumped up from his chair, and even punched the air in excitement. Then, let out a low sigh when he met my disgusted gaze. He stopped awkwardly, coughed twice, and said to me, "Well, I'm leaving now. There's a party on the 7th day of the Lunar New Year, and I need to prepare in advance." He rushed out of the room with a silly grin on his face, holding his phone. The next moment, he walked back in reverse, scratched his head, and hesitated before saying to me, "Delete Sunny's WeChat. You and her are not from the same world. There's no need to be jealous and compete with her. If you cause a scene, it'll be you who's embarrassed. I'm doing this for your own good. Also, I might be quite busy recently. If you have nothing to do, find some friends to hang out with. Only come to me if you really can't handle something." After saying that, as if afraid that I would try to keep him, he took off running. I rolled my eyes and unlocked my phone. The latest unread message was from Sunny. "Benefactor. Don't forget the 7th day of the Lunar New Year. You must come. Don't make me kneel down and beg you." Blake was overthinking it. I didn't add Sunny on WeChat out of jealousy. It was his Sunny who grabbed my arm, acted cockafously, and begged me to add her. Come to think of it, I met Sunny much earlier than he did. During the spring festival 3 years ago. I went to buy crabs and saved Sunny, who was surrounded by people, in a small alley. Actually, it couldn't really be called a rescue. Shortly after I drove those people away, her bodyguards arrived. Several burly men in black suits with earpieces rushed over and surrounded her, escorting her into a Rolls-Royce. The scene was just like something from a TV drama. I was left standing there, feeling rather depressed. And the crabs that had fallen to the ground all ran away. Since she was so rich, she could have at least left someone to compensate me for the crabs. When Blake saw me coming back empty-handed and heard what had happened, he tapped my forehead and scolded me. "Ava, you just have too much kindness in you and like to meddle in other people's business. Why are you getting involved in the affairs of rich people? What if you run into someone unreasonable and get implicated? Where would I go to cry then?" I just giggled at that time and didn't think much of it. Anyone who saw a group of flashy people pressing a girl step by step and saying nasty things would find it hard to stay out of it. I just relied on my tall stature and strong build, pushed my way through, stood in front of the girl, and let out a cold snort. Those weaklings immediately backed down. It wasn't really a big deal. After eating a few pork elbows, I completely forgot about it. Then, what on a la sigh. When my roommate and I were sneakily observing the little green tea who was flirting with Blake, I was suddenly hugged tightly by the little green tea. Under my vigilant gaze, she gestured and talked for a while before I remembered that she was the poor girl who had been cornered in the alley. If Blake knew that the girl I saved that day was his goddess, he might regret it to the core. After all, it was he who wanted to eat crabs that day. If he hadn't been so focused on playing games, it should have been him who met Sunny on the way out. Thinking of this, I stretched out a hand from under the covers and typed out a reply word by word. "I'm currently suffering from the All-1N1 flu. If I get better, I'll go." With the dual support of the special medicine that Sunny urgently sent and my dad's careful care, I defeated the All-1N1 flu in just 3 days. On the 7th day of the Lunar New Year, Sunny dug me out of bed early in the morning and took me to her house, where she handed me over to a stylist to be fussed over. Facial masks, body masks, hair removal, makeup, and choosing clothes. After all this, I finally made it to the evening. When I stood in front of the mirror, there were only 3 words in my mind. Why bother? I used to be a strong and fat person. Now, I'm a slightly more refined, strong, high, and fat person. I'm more comfortable with a plain face and wearing sportswear on a daily basis. After being dressed up now, I actually feel a sense of awkwardness, not knowing where to put my hands and feet. Sunny didn't think so. She excitedly circled around me several times, clapped her hands in satisfaction, and said, "I told you you're good-looking. You cannot believe in my character, but you must believe in my taste. Look, look. The flesh on your body is firm and gives a strong sense of power. Your skin condition is also great. You don't even need skin care. And it's still fair and rosy, showing that you have abundant qi and blood." Sunny is indeed a girl who is hard not to like. I was so embarrassed by her praise that it took me a long time to come up with a sentence. "You're really beautiful. Especially your eyes. They seem to have stars in them." Sunny smiled, raised her hand, and poked her own eyeball. My face is full of cosmetic procedures and tricks. These eyes are all thanks to the colored contact lenses. Look, look. My double eyelids are surgically created. After the operation, my eyes look smaller. If I don't wear colored contact lenses, I have the appearance of the lower 3 whites. And I look very fierce when looking at people. Actually, your eyes are even better. They have a clear distinction between the black and white parts, just like black jade immersed in water. And they're very vivid. She took out a pair of colored contact lenses from the box beside her and put one in her eye. There was a hint of mockery on her face. "Don't pay attention to those people's nonsense. They just want everyone to be the way they like. Actually, you're already very beautiful. And they just don't understand. They often praise me. But what's the use? I'm the one who has to diet. I'm the one who has to endure the pain of surgery. And I'm the one who rolls around in bed at night from hunger. They're the ones who get to enjoy the sight. If it weren't for the fact that I still have things to do and have to rely on my current status, I wouldn't care about their opinions at all. They themselves look a mess. What right do they have to judge whether others are good-looking or not?" Sunny talked nonstop, and it seemed that she had endured a lot of grievances and accumulated a lot of resentment. It wasn't until she was called away that I finally got some peace and quiet. I sat alone in the room, holding my red face and in a daze. This was the first time in my life that someone said I was actually good looking. Before, when others mentioned me, even if they recognized me, they would always take a detour. They said, Ava is really amazing. With so many medals at home. It's a pity that she's really too fat. Ava has helped a lot of people. If it weren't for her appearance being so far from what's considered good, she would be popular. Every time they praised me, they would emphasize my fatness and ugliness and add a sigh. It was as if all the difficulties and setbacks I encountered in my life were taken for granted just because I wasn't good looking. I had almost gotten used to all this. Sunny is different from them. She praised my good skin, the smooth lines of my figure, and even my hands full of calluses. She thought my thick finger bones were amazing and unique. My heart felt light, and I felt as if I was soaked in warm water, feeling all warm and cozy. If it weren't for Blake showing up here too, I would have forgotten that today was originally meant to be a day for me to vent my anger. The people who came to the party filled the entire banquet hall. When I went downstairs, I just saw a sea of people's backs. The huge, flashy crystal chandelier in her house was so dazzling that it made me dizzy. I thought Blake's shout was so tense that his voice cracked. And it sounded particularly abrupt in the elegant atmosphere. The other people's gazes turned to him simultaneously. His face flushed red. He rushed over from the crowd, grabbed my wrist, and squeezed out a few words through his teeth. Do you know where this is? Do you know your own status? Get out of here now. I shook off his hand and rubbed my reddened wrist. Of course I know where this is. I'm just. Blake interrupted me impatiently. You just want to keep an eye on me. You just want to make me lose face in front of Sunny. Are you done yet? Do you want to drag me down for the rest of my life? He lowered his voice, grabbed my sleeve, and tried to pull me outside. Before Sunny comes down. You'd better leave quickly. It was okay when you embarrassed me outside before. But this time it's absolutely not allowed. I've prepared for today for so long. And you can't mess it up. I was annoyed by his nagging. Pulled my sleeve back from his hand, and punched him on the shoulder with my backhand. Are you fucking crazy? Let go of me. I didn't hold back at all. Blake was knocked back a few steps by my punch and fell to the ground with a thud. He looked at me in disbelief, holding his shoulder. You followed me. And I didn't even bother to argue with you. Now you're hitting me? I sized him up and down. It was obvious that he had really dressed up carefully. He was wearing a neat suit. And even his hair was in perfect order. He looked as solemn as an insurance salesman. Someone nearby noticed the commotion between us and came over to ask Blake, who is this girl? Blake got up from the ground in a hurry, pulled at his clothes awkwardly, and said, she's the child of my mom's friend. She just came to give me something. After saying that, as if nothing had happened, he winked at me. Thank you for your trouble. You can go home now. I let out a cold snort. I was invited by Sunny. Whether I leave or not has nothing to do with you. Blake became even more flustered. What did you say to her? I'm warning you. Don't talk nonsense in front of Senior Lou. Otherwise. He looked around at the people and whispered in my ear. Otherwise. I'll really break up with you. Puh. Who cares? I rolled my eyes. Weren't we already broken up on New Year's Eve? You two broke up? You should have said so earlier. Sunny walked over and took my arm. I thought he was your boyfriend. So I invited him. I knew it. Your taste shouldn't be that bad. To find such a guy who doesn't abide by male virtues. Blake took 2 dazed steps forward. Senior Lou. I'm not. He nervously took out a gift box and opened it, trembling. Lie, don't believe Ava. She's been bossy since she was a child. I was forced by my family to be with her. I like you. Look. This bracelet is the birthday gift I prepared for you. I'm sincere. Sunny smiled. Stop joking. What era is this? You're still acting out this plot of being involuntarily tied down? Do you really like me? Forget it. You just cherish the vanity that liking the beauty of the department can bring you. If any rich and good-looking girl appeared in front of you, you'd be attracted to her too. If you really liked me, you would have noticed that I never accept such luxury items. I did treat you a bit more kindly than others before. That's because when I happened to be hungry, you were the only one who brought me a handheld pancake and milk tea. I'm also very close to my bodyguards. She turned to look at me and shook her head helplessly. Ava. You have to believe me. I swear. I'm not allowed to eat these at home. And for the snacks and drinks he bought for me, I paid for them and even gave him a tip. The transaction was settled. And I've never defaulted on the payment. I just used the money transferred during the spring festival to post a moment on my social media. And then I transferred the money to his Alipay account right away. Blake eagerly held the bracelet and took a step forward. No. I really like you. I heard from others that you liked this. So I worked part-time for several months to save up enough money to buy it. Sunny pulled me back a step. Don't disgust me. Even the cleaners in my family have one of these basic style bracelets. Do you think you're worthy of having me accept your filthy affection? When you look down on Ava, didn't you ever think about whether you yourself are worthy of being respected by others? Blake might have been stung by the blatant disgust in Sunny's eyes. He looked at me, lowered his head, and walked out dejectedly while holding the bracelet. I stared at his gradually fading back, feeling a bit dazed. Sunny whispered to me, "Do you still feel reluctant? Are you feeling heartbroken? Don't be silly. Such a scumbag who plays the field doesn't deserve you." I quickly shook my head. No. I'm just curious. Considering this remote place of your home, how long do you think it will take him to walk out if he relies on walking? Sunny winked at me and curled the corners of her lips. If he doesn't meet a kind person, it will probably take him more than 40 minutes to walk out. I don't know why, but I always felt that her smile at this moment was a bit bitter. Maybe I'm just overthinking it. At Sunny's party, Blake, as a two-timing toad who wanted to eat the swan's meat, became the butt of many people's jokes. He delusion ally tried to have his cake and eat it too. Yet he had no self-awareness. When many people mentioned him, there was obvious mockery in their tones. He sent me a lot of messages to apologize to me. Over and over again. It was nothing more than saying that he knew he was wrong. And that in fact, he just hadn't clearly understood his own heart and had been confused for a while. I directly changed my phone number. Only a fool would believe the excuse of being confused for a while. He was just being ridiculed by everyone and was unwanted, so he wanted to settle for the second best. Blake's mother seemed to suddenly lose her vitality. After paying off his debts for him, she sighed and said to me, "When this kid was young, he said that he really liked you, and that you were like the doll on the New Year painting. Later, he forgot about it himself. Besides, he confessed to you on his own. As his mother, is it really wrong for me to teach him to be faithful? Neither his father nor I am an irresponsible person. How did he turn out like this? Asfedea. I'm sorry to your mother. I promised her to take good care of you. But instead, you were heartbroken by my son." I didn't know what to say. I could only dryly comfort her by saying that children and grandchildren had their own blessings. Later, when Blake's mother called me, she only cared about my life and health and never mentioned him again. In fact, the university campus is really big. If you don't deliberately look for someone, it's very likely that the two of you will never meet. At first, it was a bit uncomfortable to suddenly have someone missing from my life. But this discomfort was quickly filled by training, competitions, and Sunny. Sunny was enthusiastic about taking me to various places to play, such as rock climbing, skiing, skydiving, and she even dragged me to learn freestyle boxing. She really loves sports and also trains with all her might. What she often said was that what others give is unreliable, and the skills you have are your own. After training for a long time, that seemingly slender body that looked like it could be broken with a snap actually hit extremely powerful muscle lines and had amazing explosive power. There are many troubles in wealthy families. Later, I became her assistant and accompanied her through many crises. Sunny paid me a high salary and bonuses. I owned my own villa and a large flat. And I also drove a Hummer and a Lamborghini. My life was too fulfilling. Those past feelings of inferiority were quickly thrown behind me along with the old people and old things. So much so that when I saw Blake, I even felt a bit unfamiliar with him. It was New Year's Eve again. I don't know where Blake found out the location of my new home. When I saw him, he was wearing thin clothes and shivering from the cold in front of my house. I sized him up for a while, before confirming that the man in front of me, who was bloated, overweight, and had a beer belly, was the handsome young man Blake from the past. It once again confirmed that what Sunny said was right. For men, having fulfilled my psi, their prime is short-lived. Now he was hunched over with his shoulders slumped, no longer having the high-spirited look he used to have. Standing in front of me, he looked several years older than me. The pent-up frustration in my heart suddenly disappeared. The sarcastic words that had been on the tip of my tongue turned into only 3 words. "What's up?" Blake mumbled, looked at the Hummer behind me, and shook his head. "It's nothing. We haven't seen each other for a long time. So I came to see you." I nodded. "Oh. You've seen me." "And then?" Blake shook his head. "I was just passing by. You've become more beautiful now. Happy New Year to you. I'll be leaving now." He walked forward step by step, his steps a bit unsteady. The wind and snow blurred his figure and also scattered the bouquet of roses that was lying on the ground. I calmly called the security guards and reminded them to pay attention to the identity of the visitor. I don't know what significance this bouquet of flowers holds in Blake's eyes. Is it a sign of debt, an attempt to win me back, or a desire to turn back after becoming an ordinary person? No matter what it is, he doesn't deserve it now. Father's side story: my daughter's birthday is also the anniversary of my wife's death. Since my daughter became sensible, she has never mentioned celebrating her birthday again. She said she didn't want to hear others wish her a happy birthday. Her birthday shouldn't be a happy occasion. Alas. What a good child. Why did I let her suffer so many grievances? It's also my fault. My wife had poor health. She had minor illnesses every 3 months and major illnesses once a year. I always thought I should learn from my lessons. So I fed my daughter well and made her plump and healthy. When she was a bit older, I sent her to learn sports. My daughter is very talented in sprinting, high jump, and table tennis. Several coaches took a fancy to her. Without hesitation, she chose the shot put. After that, I had to feed her even better. But I didn't expect that heartless guy Blake would say such hurtful words just because my daughter was a bit plump. I felt frustrated and pent up at home for a whole day. And then I went to talk to his mother about it. I heard that he was severely beaten by his mother 3 times. From the 3rd day to the 6th day of the Lunar New Year. To be honest, it didn't really relieve my anger. So I took matters into my own hands and gave him another good beating. I don't know what he's up to today. He's dressed up nicely, looking like a groom. He even cried and shouted at me. Why blame me? Do you know what others say when they see us together? They say I'm a psychopath with a fetish for the ugly. If it were you, would you be willing to hear these words every day? Can you stand being laughed at by others every day? As soon as those people see me, they call me the little man of the fat woman's family. It's already very difficult for me to hold back from breaking up with her. I was so angry that I kicked him to the ground. You're talking nonsense. If you really liked her, when others cursed you, couldn't you curse back? If you didn't like her, you could have talked to her properly. Is she the kind of person who would cling to you? You were dragging her along while disliking her at the same time. You're a coward, a spineless wretch. How dare you argue with me? I'm telling you, if my wife were still alive, even if she were to weigh 280 pounds, I would still praise her for being in great health and having a good appetite. I would even cut my own flesh to feed her. And I would admit it. The brat hung his head and didn't say anything. I don't know what he was thinking. I ignored him and turned around to go home and cook for my daughter. Since then, when I met the couple from the old Blake family, I didn't bring my daughter with me. I wasn't wrong about that guy Blake. He really has no prospects. He couldn't pass the postgraduate entrance examination, and then said he wanted to take the civil service examination. He's gained a lot of weight all over his body, and his grades are nothing to speak of. He used to be a handsome young man, but now he's even more dispirited than this old man of mine. Fortunately, he broke up with my daughter back then. Otherwise, with his behavior, he would really be an eyesore. Later, on the day my daughter got married, the Zen couple came to the wedding, and he followed behind them. I didn't let him in. It was really unpleasant. My daughter's life is getting better and better. It's better for such a heartless person to stay far away.